What is going on, everybody? I hope you're having yourselves a fantastic Wednesday. It's about 8:15, and I thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I'm your host, Jimmy Smith, and with us tonight is a very special guest from 4th and Jawn, Gayle Saunders himself. Gayle, thank you so much for joining us tonight, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's a pleasure to be on your show, on your platform. Um, Love the branding, man. Everything's changed a little bit. You rearranged the furniture. Got a new, the theme song. What your intro is pretty. I'm gonna say when I hear the theme song, I start bobbing my head. I feel like I need to go on a mission somewhere. You know, it's I like it.
That's what I'm trying to bring. Get your shoulders moving a little bit. Yeah.
And happy birthday, by the way. If y'all don't know on the stream, it's Jimmy's birthday today, so give him some birthday love. But happy
I
birthday!
appreciate that, man. And I appreciate everybody that sent out the love. Gayle surprised me, threw me a little curveball. I'm opening up my gifts today, and my girlfriend's like, "Oh, by the way, this one's from Gayle," and he helped me pick out the rest of these ones. So all of a sudden, I open it up. I've got myself a new desk, new lights, and Gayle got me a beautiful new microphone. So very, very grateful for that, man. Thank you.
Hey, man. It's all about winning. Whatever it takes, my guy.
Well, dude, you're always helping me win. I always appreciate coming on your show. So it's a pleasure to have you on, man. And I know the people here at On the Road to Victory love to hear what you have to say, man. And a lot's been happening this offseason. I know some people are like, oh, we're not doing anything. But you and I, we talk almost every day, man. And we see behind the lines. We know what's going down. Howie Roseman restructuring people, bringing in a few key players. We knew we couldn't bring in much because of the cap situation, but we were going to make some moves. So part of my plan today, Gayle, was to talk about some of these off-season additions. So today, right before we actually came on a couple hours ago, we actually made a couple moves. So something we wanted to talk about, Jeffrey, I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody out there. Thanks for tuning in, guys. But, so today we signed a running back. We talked about having a running back too for Miles Sanders, how important that is. We actually had a show last night. Hopefully you guys were able to check that out. Check out on Twitter, YouTube, anywhere. It was a great show. Hilarious. I actually had an awesome time. But we talked about running backs, Gayle. Javonte Williams being a name we love in this draft. Somebody we would definitely take. But Jordan Howard, he's brought back. Doesn't necessarily mean he's on this roster next year. But, hey, he was the top PFF. Take that with a grain of salt. Top graded pass blocking running back. So that's something we need. But I want to know your thoughts about Jordan Howard and how you feel about that signing.
I mean, like you said last night, we talked about the potential of bringing in a Javonte Williams to elevate the power running game. It's something that I believe it's essential for the growth of Jalen Hurts. Having that power running game and with the thunder and lightning would be nice. I think this is a cheaper option in terms of it's like that Mustang with in the yard. All it needs is a tune up in the engine. It's got power. It's gonna run right. It can block. It's reliable if the engine is running right. Doesn't cost you much money. But you look at Javonte Williams, you look at other power backs out there, and that's a new Mustang 2021. And that the way that your bank account is set up or your draft bank account is set up, maybe I can't really afford that in the second round. And here we are with Jordan Howard. I think it's an okay signing. It's the sign of running back before the draft kind of depth signing. It makes sense. I still would like a corner.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, it makes us feel a little more comfortable, at least at that position that we talked about, because we stress there's a big need there. We know that Miles Sanders, we love him. He's a great running back, but we also know he never gets 20 carries a game. We all demand it, but are we really demanding something that for a guy that can't stay healthy a whole season? So concerns me. And we talked about this over and over again, Gayle. How many times, have we about the playoff teams with the multiple running backs they had? So it's a no-brainer. We talked about this last year before the draft. So of course this year we're going to stress it. I think adding Jordan Howard to the room, it doesn't take away that need, but it kind of makes me feel a little more comfortable. So I agree with you. Not bad. Now, the other move made right after was a position that we talk about a lot, dude. Linebacker. It's horrible. I mean, and not to knock on some of the young guys. I want to see them grow and see what they have. We love Alex Singleton, tendered him. He signed it. That's great. But we bring in Eric Wilson, man, a guy that, because of injury, he was able to start last year. So started 15 of 16 games. And, not necessarily all pro guy, like, oh, yeah, buy this jersey, can't wait. This guy, but, he has familiarity with Jonathan Gannon, our linebackers coach, Nick Rallis. The kid played pretty well. You had some things you told me about earlier. Maybe you could talk about. So I wanted to just gauge your thoughts on Eric Wilson and the signing for the Eagles.
I mean, again, he led the team in tackles for losses. He had the eight passes defended as well, which was like third amongst linebackers as well. I just think, you're getting a guy with experience in this defense. From what Gannon wants from his linebackers, from 2018 to 2020, our linebackers coach has had experience with them. And these are the kind of signings I've been talking about all offseason, bringing in veteran guys who have been in the system that is about to be implemented. A guy that I'm sure who could be the Chase Daniel of the playbook to our linebacker group, if that makes sense to any of y'all. I'm just, it's that opportunity to bring in a guy who knows the system, and he's had some success. I'm not gonna say he's like, it's we didn't just sign like an all-world linebacker, but with a serviceable linebacker who knows the system. It makes sense right before the draft, which is a couple weeks away.
Agreed. And you talk about that. These guys are young, that are already in the room. Excuse me. Now you're adding a new system. So bringing in a veteran guy, like you had mentioned, something I've talked about on the show as well. You got to have veterans that can help these guys. So it's going to be familiarity with some of these coaches that you see some of these signings. So I agree. I'm stoked, as this Facebook user says here. And look, it's a great depth signing too, but he could be one of our starters. He knows the system, and he looked great in his first season of really getting a start. So I'm excited about it. We're at least showing that we care about the position, right? So that's nice. But let's not kid ourselves. We know that the draft is where it is most important that we still keep our eye on the linebacker position. But
I mean, a question for you: can he replace, a captain like Duke Riley?
That's a great question, because he's great on special teams. You mentioned him leading his team tackles for loss. He was tied in the NFL with the linebackers for 3 interceptions. The kid, he's played pretty well, but the thing is, can he come in here and just be a special teamer? I hope he's more than that, but I think if we find someone in this draft, this would be great, an even greater signing, because he could really excel, and I think he could be that special teams captain that you want. Jonathan Gannon's familiar with them. I think he's really the things I've read. This kid's going to be awesome in this system, so I'm excited to have him as a Philadelphia Eagle. One of the things I was reading about him, he was pretty good in coverage, and he out of all the linebackers, he dropped back the most. So he's somebody that can cover. Not the greatest in coverage, but he can cover it, and that's something that we lack. He was better against the run, but not necessarily great against the run. So that's where we're saying he's a middle of the pack kind of guy. I think he had like 20 missed tackles last year. 20.
I mean, but is he better than Nate Gary, though?
Yes, and that's the point here, Gayle.
I mean, again, this is still an opportunity in the draft to go get players, maybe a Jabril Cox, who might fit this roster in terms of being special in coverage. 900 plus snaps out there in space. 6, what is he? 6'4", 6'3", 330.
Yeah, like 6'3". Yeah, big ass dude.
230. I mean, who can play in space, but again, he's not really a thumper against the run either. But he's a guy who can chase.
Yeah, and what Eric Wilson here, he's like 6'1", 230 as well. So I mean, like these guys, we want to stress linebacker guys, and I think Christian, we agree. We're excited for the move for Jannard Avery to move to linebacker. I think that's where he belongs. But I still think we lack that coverage linebacker, and that's not Jannard Avery. I think he will excel at linebacker, but that's not the kind of linebacker I'm looking for right now. And Gayle, the people are calling for it already. They're going nuts in the chat. I will get back to you in a sec, Jeff. But Christian here mentions, as we're talking about linebackers here, he'd still like Nick Bolton or the kid from Michigan, McGlone. Look, we talked about this last night, right? How are you feeling about this linebacker class? These were going to be my questions. I really want to lead up to how are you feeling about, some of these first few picks? You see Jeff here. He's getting worried. JC Horn, he might be gone. We know the two teams in front of us. Scary. We got the 12th pick. Yes. Look, I think that we have talked about this. If you guys follow either Gayle or I, you know that we are very high on JC Horn. But I'm going to give you this chance to just talk about, what you see and hope at 12, whether there be, and you can kind of give more realistic and more of like what you hope if you want, because you know how Howie Roseman is. And that's what's hilarious, guys. And I hope you tune into the live draft show we have because it's awesome. We're at 4th of John, but when we talk, we're like, this is what we want and this is what we think Howie will do. So, I mean, if you want to give us that, what your thoughts are, what you think we should maybe do in the first couple rounds, and maybe throw a couple names out here that we could, dice up and talk some shop with.
Well, obviously, starting off at the top, the Eagles did trade down, and that's coming from a Jamar Chase stan myself. I thought, especially with the way that your draft was being set up right before our eyes, the possibility of a alpha dude on the right there for the taking, with the quarterbacks being taken, the possibility of 4 quarterbacks going for the first time ever in the draft, that is there on the table. There could be 5 guys being taken in the top 10. So talking about the skill players and, some of the star players that are going to be available, you would think that, Pitts might slide to 6, maybe Chase might slide, Penei Sewell, and right there is like, pick your poison. Whoever is there is going to be lethal, and definitely a game changer. So I felt like I don't know why they moved when they moved, but obviously there was some kind of, maybe they got an inkling that here was an opportunity for us to move down, and if we don't take it now, and if they see other players that might be available. And again, like prior to the trade down, I said this is a spot where Howie can't miss here. This is kind of Howie proof, and he's shown in the past where he's had success drafting in the top 10, right? So prior to the moving that back, I was already had moved back targets, and one of my guys with shout out to Christian, he's talking about Horn at 12, and Horn, man, I did the deep dive on Horn, I did the deep dive on 10, and I did the deep dive on Farley, and when I got done with it, I'm perfectly fine saying that Horn is my CB1, and I've done enough to figure out for myself what I wanted in my CB1, and he exemplified everything I wanted. Horn, from a technique standpoint, his aggressiveness, his play style, his mental makeup, the way he attacks the football in the air, he dominates at the catch point. He'll run the route for the receiver. He'll flash the hands late and get that leverage the last second to knock the ball down. He's got the right demeanor, and when he says feels like he's the best defensive player in the draft, when players say that, usually I'm like, why'd you say that? But for me, I believe him. I believe it, and he comes off that way. That is definitely a much needed shot into this cornerback group. We need a dog, and that kind of mentality, Philadelphia would love that kind of dude. Like, come on. When was the last time we've had real stellar cornerback play where you're like, Darius Slay? Yeah, but how long is Darius Slay going to be in Philly? We'll see.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this possibility. Last year, We talked about wanting an outside corner. We knew Avonte Maddox wasn't going to get it done. There were huge question marks for Sidney Jones. So there was a huge stress on running back and cornerback last year, which we're talking about again this year. But corner, man, Darius Slay, I love him. I love the guy. But you and I talked about it. This would give him an opportunity to really excel. I'm not saying that J.C. Horn comes in here, he's right away an elite corner, but he's one of those guys that can come in right away, start, and become an elite corner pretty damn quick. And I think he would open some eyes right away. I think he'd be able to be your left corner. I think he could be your cornerback one and allow Darius Slay not to have to take on some of those bigger body guys that he struggled with last year. And I just think you hit the nail on the head. Just his play style, just he fits what we crave in a cornerback. And he is, to me, a Philadelphia Eagle. He's the spitting image of what we want and have wanted for a long time. And I think, mentioned here by Mark, take the best player available. That's the best player available at 12. If he's there, dear God, we're hopeful that he falls there, because we've talked about, I don't even want to say their names, the teams that could take him. And look, it sucks because they want somebody, but maybe they take Surtain. And hey, look, if Horn's gone and you take Surtain, it's not such a bad consolation prize. How do you feel about someone like Patrick Surtain? Or, say J.C. Horn was gone, would you stick with the defense? Do you think Howie would stick with the defense with Parsons or JOK? Or do you think maybe there'd be some offensive players available?
Well, I feel like Surtain would be a plug-and-play type of player. I mean, again, starting as a freshman for Nick Saban defense, you have to be technically sound. You have to be mentally sound. I think from a football IQ standpoint, I feel like he understands the game, especially it's in his bloodlines. It's passed down from an all-pro father, cornerback. I feel like, you see some of the pre-snap stuff he does, communication, passing receivers off. In theory, you like that, and people like as Surtain hit his ceiling, and they'll look at Farley as he could be, he could be something else. I feel like Farley doesn't know who he is yet as a player. I feel like he doesn't know his superpowers yet, but he has the traits from very a short time playing cornerback. He's shown some elite traits. His explosion. I mean, he runs like a 4.3. He said he runs a 4.24. That's what he said. But just his ability to showcase what he's done so far without, we're talking about Surtain, who's out of the birth. He's been like a cornerback. Like he's been there, done that. Top cornerback coming out of high school. Caleb Farley was a quarterback and turned wide receiver, turned cornerback. So we're talking about one real elite year of play, but then it's not a bad consolation prize. I just feel like some people, a lot of draft analysts have him out there as number one. In theory, I was like, all right, he should be one. Everyone's telling me he's one, and then I went back and dug into all the tape, which there's more tape of Surtain than there is other players. You're a guy who's been starting so long. Did you see him? If you watched him freshman year against what's his name from Dallas? They just drafted him.
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb. Well, put on that tape.
Yep.
There's a thing about Surtain where some people are like, he doesn't show panic. When wide receivers are even with him, and he doesn't get the hand on them early, I feel like that's where he's almost like, he'll read it like Braille. Like he can feel out what you're doing, short, intermediate. But if you're twitched up, you get a step ahead of them, or even they're usually leaving, and that's when big plays can happen. And we're talking about next level. College, you might be able to lock all that stuff down and catch up. But quick twitch guys, I could see getting behind him. But overall, I feel like he's a guy could be serviceable right away. But yeah, J.C. Horn season.
I agree with you. And I like Caleb Farley a lot too. That was somebody who I struggled with when I was dancing with these three about who to put as my number one a few months ago. Caleb Farley, his injury history is the only thing. And we talked about this on the 4th and Jawn show last night. The only reason I didn't mention him at 12 is because I can't. with that ACL history, and now with the back going on, he just had surgery, and they say he's going to be fine. But we just went through this with Sidney Jones, and so maybe you think to yourself, hey, if he falls to 37, maybe I'm interested there. Or maybe if you could trade up a few spots and, you want someone like that and you didn't get a JC Horn at first, I could see that. But yeah, I'm with Gayle on this one. You guys need to just honestly do yourself a favor. Check out the tape on JC Horn. He is fantastic. Check out the video he just did with Chris over at 4th and Jawn. Great stuff. Talking about this guy's fit for the Eagles. And it's fantastic stuff, man, because I'm excited about him. Now, if the corners are gone, or maybe we're thinking that we get a Caleb Farley in the second round, what if someone like Micah Parsons? Everybody wants to ask us this every time, Gayle. And last night, this was the most hilarious part of the show, and I probably died laughing. But good stuff. But beyond all the, guys, he has a lot of off-the-field issues. Check it out. He did some very bad things, hazing guys. Yeah, his talent, we know what he has. But how would you feel if he falls to 12? Are you taking him?
Me personally, I'm going Parsons. Not Parsons. I'm going JC Horn. I think Parsons.
If Horn's gone, what do you?
I'm still going. I'd rather go to Devonta Smith if Devonta Smith's there. We're talking about.
Okay, so you'd go off. That's what I was asking you earlier before.
You're like, okay. I'm trying to speak from not that I'm a GM. I always in my head I'm always believe that I'm a GM, but you're thinking about your first pick is your potential franchise guy, right? So that guy has to be his profile has to be squeaky clean, man. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if that player has some background issues that, is that a leader of men? Is that the guy that you want? We're talking about an Eagles team that is now trying to build an identity, right? Trying to build off and have, a new culture, in their locker room. Yeah. Is that the guy that you want to be the foundation of your new identity of football team? Obviously, we've all made mistakes. We're all not the same person. Again, we both, me and Jimmy, have had conversations. We've all made mistakes as younger gentlemen, right? So I can't say that, I can only speak from how he's going to be viewed and then how he presents himself amongst these GMs and franchises and how he interviews. So if he interviews properly and they believe he's a changed man, there's things that people said about Darius Geis before he got drafted. This is why he fell. This is why he had an issue with the Eagles and they ended their meeting or something. Remember that?
Yeah.
What happened or what was that? But this is what happens. If they don't feel that you're, and we're talking the top of the draft. We're not talking about bottom of the first. We're talking about top 12, top 15. You have to be, your profile has to be amazing, but athletically, he's a guy that he could man the middle of your defense. He could, him blitzing through the A and B gaps. He could have those delayed blitzes with his speed, 4.3-ish, 4.4 speed, and then he could line up at defensive. You could rush him off the edge if you want. That's nice, but if you go back and read some of the stuff he said,
yeah, I mean,
it just doesn't. It's not that. It's also, it speaks to social. I mean, it speaks to awareness, right? If you're playing at Penn State, right? The biggest issue had to do with Jerry Sandusky and these kind of. It's a kind of awareness. So, and
he's screaming out Sandusky while he's doing this stuff. So it's dude.
Again, I'm not here to
not here to judge.
Kill a prospect because I know people change. But again, we've seen a linebacker from Alabama fall in the draft before and go to the 49ers, and then go to the
Reuben.
Yeah, and then go to Washington. And then we've seen it there. So I mean,
and then that's it, man. It's not just that. You hit the nail on the head when you said we are a team looking for an identity right now. We're looking for leaders of men. And look, I'm all about, you guys know it, I'm all about second chances, always out here talking about second chances, and it's just, I don't think it's the right fit for me. It's JC Horn, and if he's not there, just mentioned was the fact that could possibly Devontae Smith be available. Devontae Smith just won the Heisman Trophy, and then his teammate Jalen Waddle, who probably would have held him from winning the Heisman Trophy if he were there because he's so damn good. But do you think one of those guys will fall to 12? And would you be intrigued by adding a Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle to this offense, or maybe someone else you want to talk about later in the rounds?
I mean, you're hoping that one of them might fall. My theory is that those two could be off the board. Waddle gives you an instant playmaker on, three sides of the ball. You might have to deal with this dude going deep, taking a deep shot for a touchdown. He just beats you vertically. And then, if you stop, you get stopped, now you got to punt to this kid. And he's going to make you pay. He's an explosive talent. Is his route tree as defined? Is his route running as defined as Devontae Smith? I would say Devontae Smith is a smooth criminal, slim reaper. But I feel like he creates separation very easy, running a 4-2-4, high 4-2, low 4-3. It shows up on tape. Fast. So like if his route running game is not as refined as Devontae Smith, his explosion is unmatched amongst, but I feel like Devontae Smith, he's a smooth R&B top down.
He's one of the best, dude, I've seen in a long time. Marvin Harrison, I mean, Ocho Cinco looking, he is, but you're right. I don't think that's not a knock, though, that Jalen Waddle isn't as great a route runner, because Devontae Smith's one of the better ones I've seen in a while. But Jalen Waddle's, he's good at route running, like you said, too. He's got it all. And that explosion, though, is what separates him from the pack. Holy hell. So, yeah, we'd love that, Mark. We've talked about that.
I think he's the chess piece. Like, he's the guy that he's the guy that you move around. He's the guy that can take the jet sweeps, can do the short intermediate, he can get vertical. He is a smaller guy, but when you look at, here's where Devontae Smith for me is, if he's there, I'm excited about that. Like, Devontae Smith, JC Horn, like whatever, which way you want to go. His Devontae Smith's football IQ is where people need to realize what he's doing after he gets off the sidelines. He's actually breaking down a lot of these defenses and what he's seeing out there and relaying it to the coaches. And that's something that, in terms of football IQ, when you look at some guys in the later rounds and you like got all the talent in the world, and guys that start sliding, and you're like, there's a difference between having a guy with football IQ who can read, a wide receiver that can read defenses on the fly, and another guy who's athletically gifted, but football IQ wise can't tell you the shifts and the way that, he's being played, and then going to the coach and explaining this is what's happening. This is what we're seeing. And then transitioning that to the quarterback. That's a win. It's a small win, but it's not very talked about. But his IQ it's pretty tremendous.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about him too. Obviously, the one thing everybody says, 175 pounds, so that he can't do it. Everything I've seen from him, I'm excited to watch him in the NFL. And if it were for the Philadelphia Eagles, oh, hell yeah. I'm all about getting Jalen Hurts a weapon. So say that he's not available. We take JC Horn at 12. Are you intrigued by some of these guys we've talked about last night on the show? But in case anybody missed it, some wide receivers in the second, third round, maybe that intrigue you, or later rounds?
I'm just looking at the way that the draft will probably, weed out. Obviously, if you get Horn, that's great. But there's a lot of value in the second to third round range with corners that are going to be available. But if you're going looking for wide receivers, if Rashad Bateman from Minnesota is available, like it's Daniel Jeremiah feels like he might slip into the second round. We're at pick 37. That's a possible potential move up target if you feel like
this has got to be Evan.
What's that?
I said this has got to be Evan throwing this comment in here.
Elijah Moore season.
Yeah.
But like again, Elijah Moore as well. He's a guy. He might not have the size, but I'm talking about from a playmaker profile. You can run the jet sweeps, bubbles, intermediate game. Has some juice as well. But I feel like Terrace Marshall Jr. Terrace Marshall Jr. I feel like from a size speed profile, you're looking at a guy who comes in as your X, can play inside and outside. That Y type, like he's versatile, and then he's got that for his size and lankiness. I'm not going to say he's, he can, get out of his breaks as fast as a guy who's 5'10", 5'9", but he shows the ability to sink his hips in some of these routes. Yeah, look at Christian. He's on it. Like imagine, we're getting 2 skilled players from the SEC. We can't get any better than that. And you're getting a guy who, on both ends, makes sense. A bigger body target with speed in the second round. And the second round has been shown as of late in the NFL draft to have tons of talent in the second round for the wide receiver position.
Exactly. And, thank you for the happy birthday, Ev. And, we talked about this on the show last night, that exact combination, J.C. Horn, Terrace Marshall, or maybe a Bateman, a Tony. Everyone had their own opinion, but they're, like you said, we had so many names to talk about. It's so exciting. And look, I get it. The first thing you mentioned was trading out of that 6th pick. That was heartbreaking for all of us. You got rid of essentially a Jamar Chase, Kyle Pitts. Your hopes are gone. So now you got to hope that we maybe can still get a stud, J.C. Horn, Devontae Smith. We'll see exactly who it is, but I'm really excited. And, also mentioned from the show last night, thanks for tuning in, Christian. We move up in the second half, and you might have to move up in the second. As we mentioned on the show last night, a guy like Terrace Marshall, you might have to move back into the first round. Don't know how far he would drop, but that's always a possibility. The Eagles wheeling and dealing at all times. Gayle mentioned on the show last night, we have 11 picks, but we could have 8 picks by the time the draft is over. Package some things up, maybe package Zach Ertz in there, make a couple moves. And, hey, like Gayle just said, there's so much talent. It goes beyond the first round, guys. So lots of rounds to get through. So I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. It was awesome. The last piece of news, I know this is going to break everybody's heart out there, guys. I just wanted to talk about it real quick before we go, though, Gayle. Nate Sudfeld signing with the 49ers, joining Nate Gary. Obviously, I'm being very facetious. We know that Joe Flacco's the backup here. Jalen Hurts. Do you think we bring in one undrafted, or do you think we go late round? What do you think with the quarterback there?
Hey, man, I think you have to bring in. I would always bring a quarterback in the mid rounds. I would until you get your guy. It's good to maybe the 6th, 5th round. If they bring in Kyle Trask, then they're asking for. His coordinators here now. Imagine, they got enough intel on who he is as a player. We're going to start another QB controversy over here. But again, I don't care, man. It's about bringing in competition, and we know that from what we've seen so far. We're talking about a guy who didn't have an off season. We're talking about a guy who's thrown into the fire and actually played pretty well for given the circumstances, didn't fold, and he could have won the last game, and you could add that to the stats, but nobody wants to realize that people would just throw out stats like, bro, did you see what he did in a small sample size and be like, he can't be did I say he's the franchise? Not yet, but just look at what he did and be like, he didn't do anything. But
that's just asinine.
What then also the other hand, if you're a Wentz fan and people are saying like, oh, I believe Wentz can turn it around. Like he gave you a bigger sample size. So if Wentz can, you believe that Wentz can come back and turn around, why can't Jalen Hurts turn it around after what you saw in a 4-game period? Like
people are just upset that it's not Nick Foles, and then it's Carson Wentz.
Hey man, we're about the brand here. We're about the Eagle brand. We're about the quarterback who is underneath center And I'm not going to sit here and say he doesn't have it when he showed me flashes of that he does have something, or he's going to get figured out. Well, let's wait till that happens. Wait till he has a healthy line. Wait till he has some other receivers and not a hectic chaos, COVID type season. Like,
exactly.
It's not normal for anyone.
No offseason. It was such a weird offseason. No preseason games. There was no continuity on this team. No accountability. No heart. It was just so many things that it's like, if you're going to give Carson Wentz, the pass, it was because of the injuries and this. Well, then what the hell? This kid was a rookie that got thrown in the fire, beat the Saints, and sure, he had his struggles. But, dude, I agree with you 100%. You got to give this dude a chance, and I'm excited for his chance with Nick Sirianni, hopefully running the ball, dual threat quarterback in this offense with Miles Sanders. Hopefully we add some weapons. We'll see. Holding the ball, not fumbling. Yeah, of course. That's one of the things. He needs to learn how to get his accuracy intact at certain little things that every quarterback has to work on, especially when they're rookies, and that's what he was last year. So you've seen what he done, and people get upset about the training videos, but it's like, but what are you upset? That's what you want him to be doing right now. He's not out punching deer in the face. He's out there working with guys that have worked with Patrick Mahomes, work with the Deshaun Watsons of the world, the guys that are elite. And I really just think he's doing what he needs to do. So I don't know how you could, if you want to be pessimistic, okay, but to say that he has no chance to turn around, I agree with you 100%. I think it's stupid. And you're right, Evan. The deer was asking for it. Damn it, Carson.
Think about Jalen Hurts. I watched his games since he was a freshman, right? Coming out of Alabama. He was a guy who beat the guy that they thought was going to be the guy at Alabama when he was a freshman. He unseated him, and was his game tremendous as a freshman? I felt like he had that running ability, and I thought, I was like, dude, all this dude does is run and like dink and dunk. And did I see progression from his freshman year to when he went to Oklahoma? Yeah, like I was like, he did progress as a passer, and he doesn't look like the same quarterback he was as a freshman. I thought, he had a Heisman kind of year that year. He was a runner-up to try and win that Heisman. I thought he had a pretty stellar season, but again, I did see progression again, and he was a Philadelphia Eagle by surprise. And did I think he was going to beat the Saints? I didn't, but he did. And now we're here, dude. And it's we can have the Flacco stands might come out. They might be.
They already have. I've seen some.
Okay.
It's ridiculous, though. But I agree with you, dude. Hurts is exciting. But in college, if a guy is a threat like that to run the ball, that's what they're going to do. So, of course, they use him to his strengths. But he did progress. And that, like Gayle said, that's what you want to see. Did he progress each year? So, coming into the NFL last year, didn't really seem like our coaches were trying to help anyone. So, I'm not sure how much help he was really getting from Press Taylor, from Doug Peterson. So, I want to see what Nick Sirianni, Brian Johnson, Kevin Patullo, Shane Steichen, all these guys that have their whole resumes working with quarterbacks, whether they actually played wide receiver. It's all working with quarterbacks, receivers, helping this team where we need the passing game needs help. We don't really need help with the running game. We know how to. We were great at it last year. We get a healthy offensive line back, we'll be fine. You just got to actually run the ball. So I think with the new coaching staff, that's what we'll do. But yeah, exactly, Mark. Healthy O-line, the running games, dual threat quarterback. That makes it that RPO, all that. The play actions they're going to run, dude, the things they're going to do. I'm excited about it, man. You saw with the Colts, right? So before we go, why don't you let us know how you're feeling about Sirianni? Some people, maybe you could convince them to change their mind a couple months in now. Are you excited?
I just feel like sometimes you need a new voice in the locker room. I feel like Doug Peterson's message got stale, if his issues with Howie affected the way that he was communicating with the group. From what I was hearing from people that were very close to the players, they said it was it was a wild ride last year, put it that way. And the way that, it's time for a new voice. And I think is Sirianni a younger guy and very eager and very green? Yes. But I'm not going to sit here and down him yet. Like we didn't play football, man. Like
Seriously.
if you want to like look at press conferences, like, I mean, is that what we're doing?
Press
Like, I mean,
conferences and neck beards, bro.
but again, like I feel like Eagle fans have a way of like trying to, I guess that's the Negadelphia. Not all Eagle fans are Negadelphians.
It's bananas, bro.
Not all wide receivers are going to run banana routes. They're going to hopefully put their foot in the ground and rip it. And I feel like if his plays are there and his play calling is there, that's where we win. Like that's all I want to see is progression from the play calling. And if the players buy in, by all means, we should see a better offense.
Yeah, for sure. And yes, we're talking practice. We're talking everything. And the thing is, we're not talking about anything really. We're talking about the fact that why be pessimistic when we haven't even seen the guy? Why be pissed off about his neck beard, about his press conferences when if you watch the film, his film breakdown was awesome. How excited he got, and everybody was pissed about that. And it's like, I think half of their anger was they just didn't know what he was talking about, so they were just pissed off. But honestly, it's just like I got excited. You know, it gets me excited. I want football back. I want these Eagles to go out and care. I want to see the coach. But he got so excited watching the players as a brotherhood, you know, the things they were doing to block. And he was pointing those things out. That I want some damn accountability. I want this team to play as a brotherhood. I'm excited about it, man. I really am.
I mean, you talk about his opening where he was very candid about using players to their strengths. This is something we've talked about weeks after weeks after weeks about the ability to use our players to their strengths. How many times have you seen even Jaw? Like, obviously, we're not saying he's all world or anything, but he was a jump ball specialist coming out of college. How many times have you seen him in jump ball type situations? How many times have you seen Jalen Reagor used on jet sweeps until like, or motion? We've been asking. All of a sudden, he runs motion and then scores a touchdown on the Cowboys. I mean, that's what we've been asking.
Never
use your players to their ability. Coming out of the draft, he said, "I am what?" Tyreek Hill meets a Deebo Samuel. Did they use him that way? No. Players know what they are, what their strengths are, and if Sirianni can get the best out of his players and play to their strengths, this is what we're looking for. It's nothing more, nothing less, and that's really like the whole thing about the draft and everything. Like if a player does something good, that's what I want to know about, and that I want to utilize that to their strength. Like if you draft a player and don't utilize that to your ability, why are you doing that? Why are you drafting that player? You know, it's not like Hoodie Bill with the Patriots. I mean, what's the wide receiver out of Arizona that he drafted?
N'Keal Harry.
Yeah, N'Keal Harry. Like, have they used him properly? Like he's
over like some really great receivers, dude. That was pretty stupid. But exactly. So maybe Sirianni could put some good words in with Howie too, not just, be a great coach. But I love what you said there, utilizing the players. And he talked about it in his film breakdown. You use your players and play them to their strengths, but you also have a system intact. Like you have things you want to do, but that's where it coincides with players that fit your system. You hope that he and Howie are working together. But this year we have so many holes. Best player available in this damn draft. Get these holes filled the next couple of years, and we can be back on track. We obviously have some retooling. It's going to take some time. It's going to be some bumpy roads, but hey, as long as I'm excited on Sundays and they're at least fighting, that's what I want to see. Because these past couple of years, especially last year, I saw no fight, and it just ripped my heart out, man.
These seasons have to happen. Sometimes you have to crawl before you walk. We were definitely walking. We were walking on the side of those buses down Broad Street. We were there. Now that the whole new norm became the new storm, and now we want to form like Voltron. How about that? Form like Voltron.
There you go.
And come together. I mean, that's what you have to see. You have to see them form like Voltron. Come together and get another Super Bowl team. But that again, this is the semi rebuild. There's players in the locker room will tell you it's not a rebuild. There's players in this locker room that have won a Super Bowl. There's very little left. I'm trying to spit, Evan. I'm trying to like put some positivity out there. Like speak into existence, man. Let's not crap on the team that hasn't played yet.
Yeah, exactly. And these guys already look like they want to come out with some fight. They already look like they're hungry. You hear about Anthony Harris joining. I think he was very excited to come here. he knows what Philadelphia is about. These coaches know what Philadelphia is about. And dude, we're all about that fight, Eagles, fight. Part of the song. So yeah, all about that fight here in Philadelphia. And that's all I want to see from my team. But Gayle, it has been awesome talking. I hate to have to cut this short at 9 o'clock here, but it's my birthday. Got the family waiting. Gonna have a little bit of cake, things like that. And hopefully next time I have you on, I'll have all this new stuff set up and can't wait. But if you have any final thoughts, you want to let these people know where they can find you. You can see his Twitter handle down there. But yeah, just in case anybody doesn't know who you are, let them know, brother.
We're at 4th and Jawn, always bringing content about the Eagles 24/7. This is a lifestyle for us. And this is something we do daily. If you haven't seen 4th and Jawn, check us out at 4thandjawn.com or at 4th and Jawn on all the socials. Last words, man, just check in on your peoples, man. Make sure your people are good. Shout out a couple, I had a couple friends pass away the last couple days. Check in on your peoples because you never know what people are going through, and you never know when the last time you're going to speak to your peoples. So make sure you check in on your peoples.
Sorry for your loss, Gayle. And, there's a reason I say this every night, guys, and I truly mean it. I love what you said there, Gayle. Always check on your people, but I extend my hand because I mean it, guys. If you ever need anything, if you just want to talk some football, you need to talk about life, whatever it is, guys, always here for you. We've all been through a lot, some more than others, and we can all share those things and hopefully help each other. So I love what you said there, Gayle, and truly sorry for your loss, man. But hopefully, coming on here, we're able to chat some birds, could bring some joy to your heart, man, because it always does mine. You've gotten me through some of the tough times with my disease and stuff. So I love you, dude. And I thank you for the birthday gift. I thank all you guys for the birthday wishes, man. I truly do. Jason Crewman here had to do it. George is on here. Love it, dude. Thank you for the happy birthday. Thank you guys so much. Have yourselves a great night. And like I said, if you need anything, please reach out. Gayle, have yourself an awesome night, dude. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. And as always, come on!